I had the experience of driving home through a red wind warning. Some of you were watching this on the TV. I was in Newcastle on Friday for some ministry with the Anglican Mission in England, and I finished what I was doing at 7:30 in the evening. I had my phone on flight mode all the day because I didn't want to be distracted. And then, obviously, I turned my phone off of flight mode, and there were all sorts of messages being pinged to me. One from my wife to say, could you come home early? I'd missed the boat on that one. And then I looked out of the window, and it looked quite stormy. By 7:30 in the evening, Storm Arwen was raging across the northeast. So I wanted to get home that evening, and I decided I would get back to Scarborough, not by the coastal roads, but I would travel inland instead. I really didn't fancy going up and down the coast roads of Whitby into Scarborough during a red wind warning. So I went inland, and let me tell you something. I have never prayed so much for God's help in a car before. I'm serious about that. I have never prayed as much in a car for God's help. The drive was horrendous. At one point, on a very snowy dual carriageway on the A19, the only safe way to travel was on the left-hand lane at a maximum speed of around 30 miles an hour, and that was really pushing it. The right-hand lane was just covered in ice and snow, and it was very difficult when some smart person decided to drive to the right-hand side of you, even though your windscreen wipers would be going like the clappers like that, as they drove past you, the slush would just hit your windscreen, and I do not make this up, for about 2 or 3 seconds, you couldn't see a thing. It was like, ah! Anyway, it got worse. So I was following my sat-nav, and I thought my sat-nav was going to take me down to York and then across that way. It decided not to take me that way, and I arrived at a place called Sutton Bank. For those at home, you may have heard some of the groanings and the agony. If you don't know what Sutton Bank is, I'd like you to imagine a very steep incline like that. Not just a straight incline, but one with hairpin bends. And I like to imagine a pretty frazzled young Scotsman arriving in the snow, in the dark, without any other cars. I had to go up Sutton Bank. Well, I prayed out loud. I was serious. I prayed out loud. I said, Lord, please get in gear without stopping. With my eyes open, I made it to the top. I am very grateful he did. My little car made it around the winding bends in second gear, and when I reached the top, I'll tell you this, I felt a huge amount of relief and joy. However, then I remembered something. I had to come down. And that's the point when I looked ahead of me, and I couldn't see any tarmac at all. There was nobody else on the roads. The snow had completely covered the roads. I couldn't see the tarmac, and I knew I was going to come down. And so if you can imagine me, well, not surprisingly, I prayed again as I slowly drove down the hill at a maximum speed of 10 miles an hour to get to the town of Helmsley. And my relief was palpable as I arrived there. And then an hour later, I made it home. And I made it home, and I finally arrived at the place that my heart wanted to be. And I'll tell you something, relief, joy, and satisfaction at arriving home. I tell you that, one, because it's good for me to say that out loud, it's got over the trauma of the experience, but also because what have we been doing over these last 3 months? We've been walking through every single chapter of this New Testament book, 1 Peter. And the big theme as we've walked through every single chapter is what? Again and again, the hope of going home. The hope of going home. Of course, we've said, and we still say, and I want to say to you today, if you're exploring the Christian faith, that if you follow Jesus Christ, our experience of life in the here and now will truly and wonderfully be transformed. Jesus Christ does get involved in the nitty-gritty of our life. He increases our joy, and he transforms our relationships in a good and a positive way. Jesus Christ is for the present. However, following the Savior isn't just relevant for our brief earthly existence. And let me say to you, whether you live for 80 years or 35 years, whatever number you get, it is brief. But following Jesus means that there is a sure and certain hope for life beyond the grave. In short, we are going home. One day, we will arrive home. Sin, suffering, sickness will be removed. And that will be replaced with perfect satisfaction, perfect security, all in the presence of a personal Savior. My relief at making it home on Friday evening is absolutely nothing, but it is a taste of what we should feel as we contemplate arriving home. You can think of 1 Peter as a travel guide. It is a travel guide. It's a